Well, to talk more about that proposed agreement, we're joined by Yaakov Lapin, a military and strategic affairs analyst at the Jewish News Syndicate. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. And in the US, Dr. Nazir Al-Omari is a writer and political commentator. Good evening to you as well, Dr. Al-Omari. So, Yaakov, I'll start with you. Is this a good deal for Israel? And if so, why does the Prime Minister want to keep some of it secret?
I'll start with the second part of your question. The Prime Minister is not able to fully unveil the details of the deal until it's actually signed and agreed upon, and we haven't reached that stage just yet. So that makes sense. And in terms of assessing whether this is a good deal or not, I think it's a complicated picture, but ultimately Israel has gained from a security perspective from this deal. It has achieved de-escalation with Hezbollah in the maritime arena. And that is something that has to be welcomed by those who are interested in quiet and a lack of excuses for Hezbollah to launch an escalation in the maritime region. So from that perspective, there's both economic and security gain. The negative side of the picture, and that can't be ignored either, is that Hezbollah is going to be able to turn around and tell the Lebanese population, look, we're the ones who got Lebanon a good deal. It's through the force and the threat of our missiles that Israel, quote unquote, agreed to this deal, and that could strengthen Hezbollah's status, which has been battered recently in Lebanon and in. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Yaakov. Let's bring in Dr. Al-Omari then. Do you agree with that? Does this deal embolden Hezbollah?
Short term, yes. It will help Hezbollah. Hezbollah will look like it cares about the Lebanese economy and the Lebanese people, when in fact it's a proxy of Iran. Long term, though, I think this is really bad for Hezbollah, because a stable deal with the Israel and revenues coming from gas and Lebanese cities lighting up is really bad news for Hezbollah, because that reduces the reliance of the Lebanese state on Iran, and that stabilizes the Iranian economy. So long term, this is really bad for Iran and Hezbollah, because it's good, and interestingly enough, and it provides a lot of countries like Jordan and Syria and other countries, and Israel and Lebanon, with revenues. And these countries are energy deprived, and they need.
Unfortunately, Nazir, we're having a little bit of a sound problem. I got the gist of what you were saying, though. Yaakov, I'll throw it back to you if I will. Let's bring it back to Israel then, because the former Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, says, he will do everything he can to make sure this deal isn't signed. Could that in itself spark a conflict with Hezbollah?
I think that's a comment that the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, will be watching very closely, because part of his gambit here is to really bounce off a successful negotiations and claim the credit for that success. And if there's some sort of talk by the Israeli opposition leader, who may become or may not become the next prime minister, about canceling the deal, that introduces an element of instability. And I think that Hezbollah will be watching that very closely. I believe that they will still be very happy to take the credit for this deal, and they'll embrace it. But it certainly places a factor of ignitable instability back into the equation.
Nasir, I think you're back with us now. I guess the big question for Israel is, will this deal, if it does go ahead and if it stays in force, will it bring Lebanon any closer to recognizing Israel one day?
I think stabilizing Lebanon, making Lebanon less dependent on Iran, and providing the Lebanese people with resources is good for Lebanon and good for the region. However, we have to admit that this is a maritime border agreement, and it specifically says it has nothing to do with land borders. So we are a long way from talking peace between Lebanon and Israel, but I think everybody's trying to sidestep the politics involved in this and get some relief for the Lebanese people, and simultaneously give Israel and other countries revenues that they also need and energy that the region needs.
Yaakov, I mean, there are some practicalities to this. Lapid said today that Israel will get royalties from a Lebanese gas reservoir. How is that going to work if the two countries are technically at war?
Well, that's because part of the Lebanese gas field, Kana, goes into Israel's economic waters. There's a certain percentage of that gas field that goes in. And according to the latest reports, the final draft deal that now both countries are looking at would arrive at a stage in which Israel would receive some royalties, but less than had been discussed previously. These negotiations have been going on for a decade, and this has been one of the major sticking points. So through some very creative U.S. mediation, Israel will receive some royalties for some of the gas that Lebanon will extract and produce in the coming years, which are still located in Israel's economic waters, technically.
And Nazir, very quickly, would you say that most people in Lebanon favor this deal, aside from Hezbollah?
I think so. I think they really need the revenues, and they need the energy, and they need to light their cities. So I think the Lebanese will welcome this deal.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Dr. Nazir Al-Amari and Yaakov Lavin, thank you very much to you both.